She tells him, ooh, love, no one's ever gonna hurt you, love. I'm gonna give you all of my love. Nobody matters like you.
Hey guys, Mosa here, and today I'm bringing you my grades on the 2021 NFL Draft from all 16 teams in the NFC. Now, without further ado, let's get started. Now, let's kick it off with the Dallas Cowboys of the NFC East. And honestly, I'm going to give the Cowboys a B- for this draft. They did very good in this draft. They got their corner in Kelvin Joseph. They got another one in Nashawn right in the 3rd round. They then got another one in the 6th round, Israel Mukuamu. Their original plan was with the 10th overall pick, get Patrick Surtain. But the Broncos, instead of picking Justin Fields, they decided to pick Surtain. That's why the Cowboys then traded out of that pick to the 12th overall pick and selected Micah Parsons out of Penn State. And then you got, honestly, some good defensive linemen like Chauncey Goldston and offensive tackles Josh Ball. Or, honestly, you got also offensive guard Matt Farreich, who could be a very good, a very good offensive lineman in the future. You got some good receivers, or better yet, one receiver in Simi Fehoko. And honestly, I don't think that the Cowboys are honestly going to be a team to win a Super Bowl yet, but they're getting there. They're definitely getting there. They're definitely going to be improving from last year, especially with Dak Prescott returning. Now, on to the New York Giants. And honestly, I'm going to give the Giants a B-. And honestly, they got a insane wide receiver in Kadarius Toney in the 1st round. Honestly, I would have thought he'd gone later, but the Giants snagged them up at 20 after they traded down with the Chicago Bears. But besides that, they got Azeez Ojulari in the 2nd round as well. Aaron Robinson, the corner out of Central Florida, in the 3rd. And also Rodarius Williams in the 6th round, the cornerback out of Oklahoma State. Now, honestly, I think the Giants this year are also a team that is not making the playoffs, or at least the only chance they have is to win their division. That is the only chance any one of those NFC East teams will make the playoffs is via that. Because when it comes to the Giants, honestly, they are still a team that needs to rebuild. Then you go to the Cowboys, a team that is honestly so hyped, but also too hyped. Because honestly, then they started losing players like crazy, and then they went to the trash. And then you get the Washington football team, which honestly is also rebuilding. And then you got the Eagles, who legit traded their franchise quarterback to the Colts. But regardless, I do think that the Giants will be successful this year, but just not successful enough to make the playoffs. Now, on to the Philadelphia Eagles. And instead of drafting a quarterback, they're going to go with Jalen Hurts. And now, with their 1st round pick, they go up and trade up with the Dallas Cowboys to get Devonta Smith, the Alabama wide receiver who's the Heisman Trophy winner. And then, honestly, I'm giving them a C+ because of Landon Dickerson in the 2nd round. That center is incredible, and the Eagles got an incredible offensive lineman at that point. They also got Zach McPherson out of Texas Tech, the cornerback. And then you get also running back Kenneth Gainwell out of Memphis in the 5th. And also Taron Jackson out of Coastal Carolina, the defensive end, in the 6th round. And then in the 7th round, Patrick Johnson, the Tulane defensive end. I honestly think the Philadelphia Eagles are also rebuilding. This entire division is going to be basically, who is the best team that is rebuilding? Because that is how the playoffs is going to go when it comes to the NFC East. Because honestly, every team is looking for their franchise quarterback, or better yet, half of them. Because it's the Washington football team and the Philadelphia Eagles. Maybe the Giants are in there, but of course Dak Prescott signed his deal with the Cowboys, so he's not going anywhere. But the point is, the Philadelphia Eagles need to do a lot more than what they did in this draft to honestly get into the playoffs. Up next, we got the Washington football team, and I'm giving them a C plus for their efforts. And honestly, it's because with the 19th overall pick, they decided to go with Jamin Davis out of Kentucky, the linebacker, instead of selecting linebacker Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, who ended up going in the second round to the Cleveland Browns. And honestly, they got a good offensive tackle in the second round, Samuel Cosmi out of Texas. And then you go and get Benjamin St. Juste out of Minnesota, that cornerback in the third round. You also get tight end John Bates out of Boise State in the fourth round. Derek Forrest out of Cincinnati, that safety goes in the fifth round. And they also in the seventh round get defensive end William Bradley King out of Baylor. Honestly, this team is decent. This draft is decent. And honestly, I think that the one thing that shocks me is that the Washington football team decided not to draft a quarterback, meaning that most likely the quarterback of the future might be Kyle Allen. Maybe. But honestly, I don't know with the Washington football team. They could go somewhere else, but the quarterback that I see mostly getting his chance to actually become the full starter is most likely going to be the former Carolina Panther who came with his coach to Washington, and that is Kyle Allen. Now, on to Chicago. The Bears getting a possible steal at quarterback. 11th overall, getting Justin Fields out of Ohio State. Now, Justin Fields, I would have imagined gone in the first 5 picks. And if he fell out of the top 5, he would not fall out of the top 10. But I was wrong, as he fell out of the top 10 to the 11th overall pick, where the Chicago Bears traded up with the New York Giants to then get Justin Fields. And honestly, I would have imagined Denver was the last team that most likely would have loved to have him. And honestly, then you go into the second round, they get Tevin Jenkins out of Oklahoma State, very good tackle. Then they go and get, in the 5th round, tackle Larry Borum out of Missouri, and honestly, very good tackle as well. Khalil Herbert out of Virginia Tech, the running back in the 6th round. And also in the 6th round, they get wide receiver Daz Newsome out of North Carolina. And of course, in the 6th round as well, they got cornerback Thomas Graham Jr. out of Oregon. And honestly, the B minus. This is a B minus, 100%. This was a good draft. They got their QB of the future, but first they gotta build a team around him so he can succeed. Because the team that is right now around him on offense, I don't think is good enough to win them Super Bowls or even playoff games. Now let's get on to the Motor City, the Detroit Lions. I'm giving them a B plus for their efforts. They got the steal of the draft. Besides the Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, this was a player that should have never fallen out of the first 5 picks. He should have been selected by the Bengals, and that is Penei Sewell out of Oregon. And then they get Levi Onwuzurike. I honestly butchered that name. But the defensive tackle out of Washington in the 2nd round. Then they go and get in the 4th round wide receiver Amon-Ra St. Brown out of USC. And Derek Barnes out of Purdue, the linebacker, in the 4th round as well. Honestly, I think that the Detroit Lions are looking pretty good. I would have imagined they would have at least gotten another tackle. I know Penei Sewell is incredible, but at least give him some more protection for Jared Goff, as that is also surprising that they decided in none of the rounds to select a quarterback to at least compete with Jared Goff, meaning that the Lions are fully committing to Jared Goff, and honestly, that is interesting to see. Now, on to Green Bay, where I'm going to give the Packers a B minus. Honestly, I would have given them a C plus because of the Eric Stokes pick, 29th overall in the 1st round, the cornerback out of Georgia. But then they get Josh Myers in the 2nd round, a good center from Ohio State. Amari Rodgers, though, Clemson wide receiver in the 3rd round. Then they also get Royce Newman, the Ole Miss guard, in the 4th round. They also get Tardarius Slayton, the Florida defensive tackle, in the 5th. And honestly, I see this as a big win. In the 6th round, guard Cole Van Lanen out of Wisconsin. And honestly, I see this as a team that will make the Super Bowl. But they have to at least the defense has to work. And I honestly think these picks could honestly help the defense as well, because they did pick defensive players like Eric Stokes, but I'm not really down for Eric Stokes. But they also did get Shermar Jean Charles out of Appalachian State. Even though I don't know much about him, I do think that the Green Bay Packers would 100% make the playoffs and 100% make the championship game. But I'm not unsure that they're going to not make the Super Bowl. But I do believe that they have a chance, unlike any of the years that Aaron Rodgers has been the quarterback. Because if they can't win another Super Bowl, or at least get to one, Aaron Rodgers is gone. Now, let's get on to the Minnesota Vikings. I'm giving them a C. And honestly, getting offensive tackle Christian Darrisaw out of Virginia Tech was a very good selection by the Minnesota Vikings. What then troubled me is why in the 3rd round, with your 2nd pick, you get quarterback Kellen Mond out of Texas A&M. Honestly, do you not like Kirk Cousins too much? Do you want to give him more competition? Because honestly, I think Kirk Cousins could be your future, but honestly, that could also change. That's why they most likely drafted Mond, but that is most likely to give him some challenge for the starting role. But I still believe that the Minnesota Vikings could make the playoffs with Kirk Cousins. But then they got also Wyatt Davis out of Ohio State, that guard, in the 3rd round. They also get Janarius Robinson, the Florida State defensive end, in the 4th. And Zach Davidson, the tight end out of Central Missouri, in the 5th. Honestly, this team is getting ready for a Super Bowl and a playoff run. Now, on to the NFC South, which we have the Atlanta Falcons up first. And I'm going to give them a B-. Because honestly, they did good in this draft. They did very good. But I honestly would have said, get more offensive linemen. And honestly, the defense, they started working on the defense a lot. And that's something I love. But with the 1st round pick, they go and select tight end Kyle Pitts out of Florida. That is the highest drafted tight end in NFL history now. Then they get Richie Grant out of Central Florida in the 2nd round. Jalen Mayfield, a tackle out of Michigan, in the 3rd. Drew Dalman, the center of Stanford, out in the 4th round. Taquan Graham, the Texas defensive end, in the 5th. And wide receiver Frank Darby out of Arizona State in the 6th. I honestly think that the Falcons are definitely on the right track. But for now, since they did not select a quarterback, it is most likely that they will continue with Matt Ryan until they get a new quarterback. Now, on to the Carolina Panthers. I'm going to give them a B for their efforts. Terrace Marshall Jr. is honestly one of the best picks. But the best pick, I believe, was their 1st round pick, corner J.C. Horn out of South Carolina. Honestly, very good selection. Also, Brady Christensen out of BYU, the tackle, in the 3rd round. Chuba Hubbard in the 4th round, Deontay Brown in the 6th round, and even Phil Hoskins in the 7th. Honestly, I think that the Carolina Panthers are definitely moving forward with Sam Darnold. I do see if Sam Darnold fails, Philip Walker might be the one to come in and replace him. Because honestly, Philip Walker and his head coach, Matt Rule, has been very close, as they have been actually quarterback and coach before. Because Matt Rule was the Temple's Owls head coach, while Philip Walker was the quarterback. But still, regardless of that, they still need to fight for their positions. And I honestly think Sam Darnold will win the position of starter. But you never know. Now, on to the New Orleans Saints. And I'm going to give the Saints a C- for their efforts. Peyton Turner, I don't know that much. But Pete Warner in the 2nd round, very good. But then you get to corner Paulson Adebo out of Stanford. I don't really know that pick. But when it comes to Ian Book in the 4th round, this is definitely them looking for a replacement to Drew Brees. Honestly, it's going to be most likely Jameis Winston or Taysom Hill to start. But Ian Book could be the one to honestly become the starter in the near future, as I do believe Ian Book can be an NFL starting quarterback, but for now I see Ian Book as a backup or third string quarterback. And honestly, I don't know about the New Orleans Saints draft. They did draft a lot of defensive players in the first 3 rounds, but I don't really know about that. Now on to the defending Super Bowl champions, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'm giving them a B- because honestly, they could have done anything in this draft and it would still have been good. Joe Tryon in the first round, alright. Kyle Trask in the second. That is interesting. That might be the quarterback that replaces Brady when he retires. Then Robert Hainsey out of Notre Dame, that tackle, getting Brady some more protection. Jalen London Dryden, the North Texas wide receiver, getting more receiver help for Tom Brady, even though he has an incredible receiving game. KJ Britt out of Auburn, the linebacker in the 5th round. Will Cox, the cornerback out of BYU in the 7th. Incredible picks that the Buccaneers have done, but it's mostly because it doesn't matter, because they got their 22 starters from Super Bowl 55 back on contracts. Now on to the NFC West, the best division last year, as we saw. Honestly, the NFC West, the Cardinals, I'm going to give them a B-. Zaven Collins in the first round, I don't know. I thought Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah would have been better, but then Rondale Moore in the second, Marco Wilson in the 4th, and Tay Gowan in the 6th. These are guys that I believe that honestly will make the Arizona Cardinals a better team. And of course, they already got some incredible wide receivers, one of them being DeAndre Hopkins. But why not give him more options in Arizona, Kyler Murray? You give him Rondale Moore. Then you give him some other helps on defense when it comes to corners, defensive ends, and linebackers. Even though Zaven Collins is a good linebacker, I would have taken Koramoah a lot more than Zaven Collins. But regardless, I do see this as an improvement for the Arizona Cardinals. Now, on to the LA Rams, and I'm going to give them a C+. They did not have a first-round pick. Getting wide receiver Tutu Atwell out of Louisville in the 2nd round was a good selection. Ernest Jones in the 3rd round was also a good selection. Bobby Brown the 3rd in the 4th round, very good. Jacob Harris, the Central Florida wide receiver in the 4th as well. Jake Funk, the running back out of Maryland. And honestly, Chris Garrett is one of the most underrated players, I believe, in this draft when it comes to late round picks. The Concordia St. Paul linebacker. And honestly, I think that the Los Angeles Rams are not improving, but at least retooling. Like, they got their new quarterback in Matthew Stafford. They got rid of Jared Goff. They're getting some more help with the rookies. But honestly, I think that the Los Angeles Rams could actually make the playoffs once again, but not as the division champions. I do believe that they can, but they won't do it as division champs. Now, on to the San Francisco 49ers. And I'm going to give the 49ers a B- for their efforts. Getting Trey Lance in the 1st round and the 3rd overall pick. Then you get Aaron Banks in the 2nd round. Trey Sermon in the 3rd. And Jalen Moore in the 5th. I honestly think that San Francisco 49ers will be a playoff team once again. This might be the first division to send every single one of their teams to the playoffs. That's how good the NFC West is. But is it going to be good enough? Maybe, maybe not. But it could be. It could be possible that all the NFC West teams make the playoffs. One as division champs, the other as the 3 wildcard spots. Never has it happened before because it's only been for 1 year. But it could happen this year as San Francisco, Seattle, LA, and Arizona are honestly getting better this offseason. Now, with the Seattle Seahawks, I've actually done a video on them already. Link will be in the description. But I'm going to give the Seahawks a C for their efforts. Honestly, Dwayne Eskridge is a pick I don't know. I don't really like it as much. But Trey Brown and Stone Forsythe in the 4th and 6th rounds, honestly, I think the Seattle Seahawks could have actually selected an offensive lineman in the 1st pick we had, the 2nd round pick. But regardless, if Dwayne Eskridge does not show to me that he is a top 5 wide receiver for the Seattle Seahawks, then I honestly will call him a bust. Because honestly, I don't think wide receiver was a big of a need that the Seattle Seahawks needed to work on. At least they should have gotten 2 offensive linemen, in my opinion, because honestly, this team 100% needs offensive line. Now, that was it for this video. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. Tweet me any video ideas. Also, tell me down in the comments below, who do you think, honestly, was the best draft selection from the NFC, AFC, and in the draft altogether? Tell me down in the comments below. Now, like this video if you liked it, subscribe, and hit the notification if you want more videos. And I'll see you guys next time.